Hello, hello, hello. If you're coming on, remember to switch from top chat to live chat. Do, do. Hey Jackie, how you doing? Okay. So this is going to be a somewhat short live stream for me. So some of y'all might know that I am part Indigenous. I know I don't look it, right? Look at that. Really fucking pale. I have some health things that mean I cannot go in the sun. Get your butt in the shower. Okay, so real quick, we're going to cover some things about missing and murdered Indigenous women all over the US, up into Canada, in Peru, Colombia, everywhere, Puerto Rico. Yes, there are Indigenous women in Puerto Rico. In fact, the population of Puerto Rico, most of the people in Puerto Rico are part Indigenous, so they are considered Indigenous by the larger Indigenous family. Oh, thank you. Look, red. All the red up in here. I got all the red. So I'm wearing red in remembrance of the ancestors, that my Indigenous ancestors, all of the Indigenous ancestors, who had to deal with colonization, genocide, etc. And there's a lot of history there. I could sit here all day long, all week long, and talk just about the history, right? Much of which you may not have really heard all that much about. But right now, in the year 2021, there's an epidemic across the United States that's happening that you hardly see anything about in the news. You hardly hear a blip in the radar, unless it's like someone who's famous. Then they have to say something. Okay. So where is it? Y'all know that I normally do not talk about children who have been harmed on this channel because it's very hard for me to do. Trigger warning. Hi, Sharemare. Trigger warning. Teen girl found dead 3 weeks after being kidnapped in South Carolina. That's Jesus Christ. This is a whole different story. I do apologize. What is my computer even doing? I have so many things that I'm researching that things get confused. Philadelphia. God damn it. I had it up and I don't know the. Okay. I'm not going to cry. I need a cigarette. Body of missing 8-year-old girl found on Cree Reservation. Mildred Old Crow has been found on the Crow Indian Reservation. Montana's Department of Justice issued a missing endangered person advisory for Mildred in November 2020. She was last seen on the reservation in March 2019. So for Amber Alerts, when a child of this age goes missing, there's supposed to be an immediate response. But okay. This is just a prime example of how little Indigenous people matter in this country in the year 2021. An 8-year-old little girl goes missing. A 14-year-old girl goes to a sports event. No history of running away, no history of anything. Goes missing. It's no big deal. She probably just ran away. How you think that law enforcement typically would respond for a minor who is missing? Think the opposite, and that's how law enforcement will respond for an Indigenous child. And that's typical. Or a woman, or a man. It doesn't matter. It's kind of across the board, but for women it's even worse. Indigenous women are 10 times more likely to be murdered. Okay, so this is an undercount. These are not the actual numbers. It's way underrepresented. 506 missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls cases were identified across 71 selected urban cities. 128 were cases of missing Indigenous women. 280 were cases of murdered Indigenous women. 98 were cases with an unknown status. 29 was the median age of these victims. Now, for a second, I want to talk about the unknown status. There was a woman found with obvious signs of strangulation and also her C4 vertebrae. This is going to come up often in a lot of the cases I talk about from this point forward. The C4 vertebrae is going to come up. It's a big deal. Her C4 vertebrae was fractured. Supposedly, she died of hypothermia. I have never heard of a person who dies of hypothermia having their C4 vertebrae fractured before. Has anyone else? Okay. So when a pipeline is built, and you're thinking, what the hell does a pipeline have to do with the price of tea anywhere, right? Wait for it. When a pipeline is built on or near a reservation, they build these camps called man camps. They bring in all the workers who work on the pipes, and it's mostly comprised of men. And they typically don't really do thorough background checks on these men. So who knows what kind of history, like criminal record or criminal history, criminal complaints have been reported to the police on these men, right? Every time these camps come near a reservation, do you want to know what happens? The cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women rises up. Shoots through the fucking roof is what it does. So think about that for a minute. Pipelines are built, man camps are created. Indigenous women typically are not taken seriously when they're missing, murdered, victimized in any capacity. Supposedly, go up to your daddy, baby. Supposedly, there are fewer serial killers out there right now, supposedly. So if there are fewer serial killers, how prove to me that there are fewer serial killers? Because all over the country, this is all over, up in Canada, all over the place. And serial killers, a lot of them have gotten smart and they'll travel now. So there'll be truckers. So if an Indigenous woman is walking home from work or to school or whatever, randomly goes missing, isn't taken seriously, and there's a highway nearby, are there fewer serial killers, or are they just targeting Indigenous women along with sex workers who are working on the streets? And then add to that the man camps for the pipelines, and then add to that the overall apathy, just whatever. It doesn't even fucking matter, right? What happens to Indigenous men, women, children, elders, doesn't matter. Sounds like these companies need either a better vetting program or a better vetting program in the first place. Well, when you consider, okay, let's look at the DAPL pipeline and the pipeline protests that happened in North and South Dakota. Law enforcement and the government itself went hard after the protesters. Hard. It was fucking horrible. I'll do a stream on it if you want me to. If I had not been pregnant, my ass would have been up there in a skinny minute. Because during that time frame when those protests were happening, I saw something that I never thought I would ever see happen. I saw Indigenous people from all over the world come there in solidarity with those Indigenous people, and an ancient archaeological site that there wasn't another one like it. It was the only one of its kind, was destroyed by the pipeline. So a sacred space, rather like a church, like a cathedral, like your Baptist church down the way, like a sacred space was destroyed for a pipeline. How many of you heard about that in the news? How many of you heard about Mildred? And I wondered how I was going to do this. And I wasn't sure. And I started to read a list. There's a list of names of women who went missing. No one knows what happened to them. Or they've been found murdered. And I couldn't read the list in my mind without ugly crying. Like last night was rough for me. So I figure I cannot, More than likely, I cannot do that on this live stream. Isn't that the protest? They were tear gassing and using water cannons on people. Yes, that's the one. Well, there have been many, but I mean, Minnie Washoni. I may be pronouncing that wrong. That's not my culture, but I think I'm pronouncing it right. Hi, Froggy. All right, so once a week, I'm going to start talking about missing and murdered Indigenous women. This isn't going to be like just a once a year thing. It's going to be, I'm going to try to do once a week. But what I want to try to do, this is why I haven't done this yet, is I want to try to humanize these people, these human beings. I want to talk about who they were as human beings, because I want people to see them as human beings. This is part of the reason I waited until I did the interview with Jessica's family, to show you what I want to do. There is this overall mentality that if you're Indigenous, you must be a drunken Indian. I'm part Indigenous and I don't drink. Many Indigenous people don't drink. But we got these stereotypes, we got these tropes of what people are like, what groups of people are like, right? You know? Then there's also the thought that, you know, a lot of Indigenous people are drug addicts, like addicted, whatever. Then there's, you know, well, she's probably a sex worker. There's just dehumanization after dehumanization after dehumanization. And it's like a perpetual thing, right? Then, too, you barely hear about anything that's happening on reservations or to Indigenous people who don't live on res. So, you know, I'm not going to do a really long live stream about this because there's so much to it that I can't put everything in here. I'm not going to be able to. So I'm going to have to do it in portions. And I'm going to have to do this carefully because I am part Indigenous. I know I have pale skin and blue eyes, but this is what colonization does. Along with losing the language and the culture and the traditions and the crafts and the skills and, you know, a full connection with that side of my family, I don't look Indigenous. Hence, I don't have the handprint on my face because I don't look Indigenous. But it's there in my heart. People need to start listening. News media needs to start talking about these things because these people who are hunting Indigenous people are not going to just stop with Indigenous people. So we're going to talk about Indigenous cultures, things that are happening now. There are other people who talk about the history. I want to talk about what's happening now. And I want to humanize these human beings and get as many people as I can to think about it. It's Black women go through hell. And Indigenous women are barely a blip on the radar. You hardly hear about. There are so many names that I just keep thinking Mildred, right? But it isn't just her. There are so many. So I'm not sure what day this is going to be on. I haven't ironed out everything yet, but it's going to be once a week. And I'm going to try to reach out to different communities and see if I can get people to come on here and talk about things, because there's a lot to it. There's jurisdiction. There's nobody wanting to catch the ball, which is the case, and doing any kind of investigation. It's a lot. So if you hang in and if you can stand by me through this, I would appreciate it, because it's not really me you're standing by. I look white. It's all of the Indigenous people out there who are wondering why no one pays attention. I have to admit, I've never heard of any reservations or women there. I can't believe I never noticed. Yeah, it's almost like they're hidden to a degree. So, you know, and it just hasn't gotten to the point where it's a thing. Like during the protests over the summer, Indigenous people were there helping. They were one of the Indigenous community centers for that culture was actually burned down, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's Black people." No, it was white supremacists who came in and burned that center down, and did a bunch of other damage, trying to make it look like Black people were, evil thugs, which we know thugs means Black. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's a lot. We're going to go into all that. But this is going to be a shorter live stream, because I'm going to jump on another live stream in a little bit for Sunshinery. When are they going on, Shamir? I don't remember. Hold on. I know it's soon, but please tell me the red actually looks red on here. That would be great. 8:30. But what is your time? I'm in New Orleans. This can be really confusing. In 35 minutes. Okay, so there is a bit of a time difference, because here it is 6:55 for me. So at least I think through doing this is actually helping with my, helping to heal some of the trauma. So that's good. $7:30 our time. Okay, right on. Hi. Hey, Stacy, how you doing? Did I? Yeah. Stacy is an hour behind too. Shitballs. Everyone is in a different time zone. It's hard getting the time right. I'm in New Orleans, so, and I have no sense of time. I don't. Your eyes, your hair, your shirt on point. Thank you. If I had red contacts, I would be wearing red contacts right now. I thought about doing my eyebrows red, but I was like, that might be weird. I'm not sure. Man, time zones. Somebody had messaged me on Twitter something to do with the time when some live stream was happening. I didn't realize that person is in the UK. So I was like, wait, what? I'm in the same as you. I'm in Arkansas. Oh, right. Okay. Right on. All right. So next week I will have a full live stream for this subject. I just want to bring it to everyone's attention today. I don't know if any of you have Twitter, but I've been tweeting out all this stuff. Which is weird. People say that Twitter is toxic, but I haven't really seen any of that because I guess, I don't know. I'm following like domestic violence hotline, like all these different things. And I think I'm seeing a different side of Twitter. We have a lot of friends in the UK. I swear they don't sleep. I'm just saying. I gotta wonder sometimes. Well, maybe with, lockdown, maybe um, their sleep schedule is different. What the? This camera does not like it if I get an inch too far away. Twitter is toxic if you make it and follow the toxic accounts. See, yeah, I think I've somehow avoided that, and I'm thankful. What? I have so many tabs open right now, it's not even funny. Oh, I have no interest in, okay. I have no interest in the toxic side of Twitter. Man, I have heard some shit though. Okay, so right, so I do believe, like, I'm not going to click on this right now. Hold on. Yes, I am. Where is it? Why am I not finding it? Wait, what? I still don't have Twitter fully understood yet. What the? My computer's doing weird things. Okay, so I do believe that Jessica's sister, I think, did an interview about the DA taking on Jessica's case. I'll have to watch this interview at some point. I don't have it fully understood either, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, between Twitter and Instagram, and it's a lot. And now TikTok. Jesus Christ. Apparently you can make videos on Instagram. I still don't have that figured out. I just don't. I don't understand how people do videos like content for YouTube and then Twitter and then all this other, and I'm like, how do you find the energy? Like, I don't know. Is there some sort of like drug use involved? Like what? Okay, so I went over there for a reason. Okay, I read that. Okay. 5 things to know. What is the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Native Women and Girls? What are the numbers? Available data from the U.S. Department of Justice indicates that Native women face murder rates that are more than 10 times the national average rate. There are more than 5,000 cases of missing American, Indigenous, and Alaskan Native women, and that 55% of Native women have experienced domestic violence. Oh, you can make them at the same time with StreamYards. Okay. I did not know that. What is the goal of the movement? The movement encourages local communities and national communities, I would add, to increase awareness of the issue and work at the tribal, state, and federal levels to build better communication and legal framework to create clarity on jurisdictional responsibilities. That is so important. And improve efforts to find those who are missing. How can I show awareness? People can show awareness by wearing red on May 5th, having virtual events. Hi. And there are also virtual events that will be held online, and I've shared information to that on Twitter through April 29th through May 5th. How else can I raise awareness? People can participate in a self-paced running for justice, remembering missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, virtual run walk between May 5th and 9th. So I might reshare this because there's a link here. For the independent 5K, 10K, and half marathon, participants are encouraged to upload the times and photos. All donations will be divided between 3 organizations: the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, Native Women's Society of Great Plains, and the Rising Hearts. Okay, that's got that done. Now I need to, can I reshare this? No. Okay, it's on my Twitter. Okay, so my neighbor is yelling. There are reels on IG, and you can go live there as well. Huh. Interesting. Put it on Discord. Give me 1 second. Why didn't I think of putting that on Discord? Okay, so at the moment, that is everything that I'm going to kind of cover in this stream. Because there's so much to it that I don't want to overwhelm people. I want to bring people into this. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to, to understand and kind of grasp the broadness of this issue. If you type in Highway of Tears, the last time I did that, 4 different locations came up. Highway of Tears typically is a spot where Indigenous women go missing and or are found dead. There's 1 or 2 in Canada. I think there's 1 in Alaska, and then there's 1 or 2 here, So yeah, that's the thing. So we're going to talk about a lot of things having to do with the Indigenous world, really. It's not just one community. It is multiple communities all across the U.S., all across Canada, and, what people call Latin countries, which, is it really? Peru, Colombia, Nicaragua, all over the place. Indigenous women are targeted. Indigenous people are targeted. So, yeah. So if you want to know more about that, 1 stream a week is going to be dedicated to that. And I'm going to do 1 a week because, and there may be times where I have to take a break for my mental health. I don't want to push myself too hard with it, because either I will decide I must burn down an entire city in Minecraft, or, I'll just burn out, and I don't want to do that. Okay. What am I missing here? Why does it say, oh. Okay, Jackie, I see your message. I'll come back and read it a bit, better. Obsidian, am I saying your name right? Because I might not be. Tim Ballard of Our Rescue, Operation Underground Railroad, does good work rescuing missing and exploited children and women in the U.S. and abroad. There are ways to help and get involved on site. Dude, look, I would be willing to help them. Most definitely. I don't know if they could handle my temper that sometimes comes out, but that's actually kind of one of the things I want to do. At some point in my life. All right, so toxic masculinity has systemic problems that go far beyond what you see on the day-to-day in the media. Because what usually comes in with that, with the sexism and the misogyny and all this and that, is racism. I talked about this before in other videos. Racism, homophobia, transphobia, all of that. Sexism, all of it all ties in together, right? And a lot of the time, abusers, they will try to find any way they can to justify their abusive behavior. So if they're in an area where there are Indigenous people, a large community of them, a lot of the time the white people in those areas are either dismissive of, don't know they're there, or are racist toward those Indigenous people. So then Indigenous people become a group that is more acceptable to target, if that makes sense. Still, now, in the year 2021, now, this is happening now. Like, 2020 was a bad year for Indigenous people. 2021 is just continuing to a degree. So, all right. So once a week. Hopefully you all will stick with me and, learn about this, because I do think it is important. Right. Okay, so on the Discord, we have a link to the Operation Underground Railroad, and some other helpful links. We share a lot of links there, so. You're here and you want to learn, and I'm glad to hear that. Very glad to hear that. Because a lot of time people are like, oh, that's sad, whatever, and then they just fuck off. Like, I'm not even kidding. I've actually ended friendships because of how blasé certain people were. And that was when my inability to have patience with white people came up, was then. Oh shit, I forgot to put something on. I totally forgot. So these were made for me. And they're old. They're peacock earrings. And I can never replace them. Unfortunately, I don't have any of my bead necklaces or earrings or any of that anymore. So unfortunately, I lost all of that in Katrina, and I just haven't replaced them. So if I can get them on. All right, so I might jump off here, go make me some coffee, wait for a sunshine ray, watch me go and destroy these feathers. So yeah, thank you all for being here, though. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'm thankful that y'all came here for this live. You know, at some point today, if you're not busy, if you could maybe spare a moment, go to social media on TikTok. There's what is it? Native TikTok, Indigenous TikTok. Also on Twitter, there are several different groups on there that, you know, spreading awareness and everything. Yeah. So this was not as hard as I thought it would be. I was nervous on this one. Okay. So if I don't get some coffee soon, I'm going to go to sleep because I had a ginormous sandwich. I am so full right now. But if anyone who's out there, if you know of, or if you are a family member or a friend of an indigenous woman or person who is missing or was murdered or survived, if you contact me, I would be happy to share your loved one's story or your story. And the way that I want to do this is I don't necessarily want me on the screen or me being heard. I want it to be all about humanizing the loved one. So just email me, contact me on Twitter, anywhere else. So yeah. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, ring the bell, hit all. Come check us out on other social media. We're everywhere. We have a list in the About page. Am I forgetting something? You have the right to say no. Your no should be respected. Indigenous people deserve to live and be treated with respect. So thank you all for being here. I'll see y'all later. Come over to the Sunshinery live stream later, and I'll be on there. So, all right, y'all. Hugs. Group hug. I need a group hug. Hope everybody's okay. I'll see y'all later. Bye.